Good evening, and thanks for tuning in. This is Heartstock. I'm your host, Carol Murphy, and today we have Mandi Kerr of Global Hemp Association as our guest. We've got Daniel Hogan manning the board in the studio, and in just a moment, Mandi will be with us and tell us all about what she's got going on there at Global Hemp Association. This is Heartstock. I'm your host, Carol Murphy.
Was made for you and me. As I went walking that Ribbon Highway, I saw a glory that in the sky.
This is Heartstock Radio, and today our guest is Mandi Kerr of Global Hemp Association. Hello, Mandi. How are you?
Hi, I'm so good. How are you? And I'm so glad to be here.
Thank you so much for being our guest. And you're speaking with us from where?
Utah, Salt Lake.
Awesome. What's it like there? I mean, we're having a real dry spell here in Montana. Lots of wind and dust and dryness. It's concerning.
Yeah, I'm afraid we won't have lake water. We've got a bunch of sand in the middle of our waters.
Yeah. I don't know. It does. The sky clouds up and the wind blows and we get maybe a little sprinkle of rain. So some forest fires may be ahead in our future here. But at any rate, thank you so much for speaking with us. Can you give our listeners a little intro here? What is the Global Hemp Association?
Sure. We're an organization of businesses and entrepreneurs, people both in the industry, the hemp industry, as well as people interested in the industry who get together to connect the supply chain, educate, move projects forward, and really advance the industrial hemp industry. So we host a number of events where we collectively host 8 to 12 events a month, really with the focus of building relationships and connecting individuals.
And why is hemp so important to you personally? Why did you get involved in this? And you are the founder, correct?
I am. Yeah. I really had an aha moment when I realized that plastics have been around as long as hemp has been banned, and that the hemp is a substitute for a number of these, carbon sucking or carbon producing products like plastics or fiberglass, auto body parts. And so, for me, I said, I really have an opportunity to make change, and I'm at the forefront of an industry that can potentially change what's happening, the whole trajectory of our planet and the way we think.
Yeah, humankind. I am just, I have to confess, I am 100%, 110% in love with hemp. The more I learn about it, the more I just love it. And I've worked with the fabric and several different fabrics that consist of hemp blends. And I was an ag major once upon a time, so just the whole horticultural aspect of it. And I was so thrilled when I found you. And I'm just wondering, what's your background and how might that have contributed to our mutual love of hemp?
Yeah, so my background is actually, for the last 6 years, I have hosted B2B events and networking events with the intent to connect people and build revenue-minded connections. And so when I got into the industry and realized that businesses were failing or making the same mistake over and over again because they didn't have access to resources, my goal was to create a one-stop shop for resources and all things from seed to cradle involving hemp. And I intentionally approached the market by building relationships with bioplastics and construction and building materials, the textile industry. Instead of going after the cannabinoid side, I focused on this industrial market. And really it is because I have kids and we've got to make change and they are going to change the world with it. And if I can educate and get people excited about it, then they have an opportunity to take advantage of it.
And why not the cannabinoids? Because that, I'm sure you've been I'm sure you've rubbed elbows and shoulders with the cannabinoid
Always.
folks. Why
Absolutely.
why not that also or instead?
Um, because there were a lot of other organizations that had a voice on that market. There weren't very many people talking about the whole plant. You know, the cannabinoid side is, 2 to 10% of the plant sometimes, but what do we do with the rest of this? And the rest of the plant is where our auto body parts are made and our clothes can be worn and our homes can be built and our, soils can be, revitalized and our carbon can be sequestered. There's massive opportunity in this plant that just wasn't being talked about.
In what about previous to being a connector of peoples? What did you do before that, and where did you grow up, and all that kind of good jazz?
I'm from Wyoming, and I moved to Utah. Actually, I was a fairly young mom. I had kids at 21 and 23, and I flew into the Utah airport, Salt Lake Airport, and there was a playground in the airport. And for the first time, I felt like I could put my kids down and just relax. And I was looking for a place to move to where there was more opportunity, a little bit more fast paced than Wyoming, but not the big city fast rush like Denver was, or the way that Denver was booming. And so I settled into Utah and took off. I got married and actually raised a number of kids. I got married to a gentleman that had 6 kids. I had 2 and we adopted 1. And then I got divorced 6 years ago. So during my marriage, I was for the most part managing chaos with children, but we owned a restaurant and, I did he was an accountant and we had some small business, home business, but nothing like what my goals or opportunities are here in the industrial hemp industry.
And, you mentioned before, your first encounters and realizing that there was such a deficit. How did you get this off the ground initially?
Hemp is a hot topic. And I think that people are because there has been so much work done on the cannabinoid side to bring awareness. It was a buzzword for me to say, but I can also build a house with it. But I can also grow, build a car with it. We can also, sequester the carbon in Utah. We've got an awful air problem or air quality problem, and we can reverse that. And so, because of that, it made it easier to talk about and it made it easier to build a network. But initially, I just started hosting, face-to-face events with the initial intent to drive discussion. And right now, most of my meetings or opportunities are around bringing people to a panel and providing the audience an opportunity to ask questions and learn.
Mm-hmm. And there in Utah, what is the situation with hemp? I know here in Montana, there have been some rules and laws changes that is allowing folks to grow it. I mean, obviously, we don't have a lot of the infrastructure, and I'm sure we can talk more about that. What's coming, hopefully, fingers crossed. What's it like there in Utah, the environment and the discussions and the laws related to hemp?
We're actually doing pretty good, to be honest. Montana is definitely leading, especially on the commodity side. Hemp is a commodity, and they're very advanced on the grain and the fiber, where Utah is not growing as many acres. But Utah is definitely a manufacturing state, and there are some companies here that have some great potential that are definitely in the pilot or prototype phase for building materials, batteries, military uniforms, bioplastics, 3D printing. So yeah, it's pretty exciting.
So are you finding that there's a lot of support and help from folks like in Europe, Germany? They've been growing and using hemp, all this while that we have had it banned. Are you finding support from folks overseas who have been doing this for generations.
It's been the most humbling industry I've ever been in because people are so eager to change and to make a difference. And people in the hemp industry are passionate. So absolutely, from all over the globe, people are eager to start projects and build relationships. They understand through the pandemic the necessity that comes with, creating jobs and bringing our supply chains back within their borders. And so with that, we need support from, their equipment and their research and their data, and they've been fabulous. Yeah, everyone we talk to has been very supportive.
And are you finding that there are advances outside of the country that people are willing to share? I mean, maybe you could give us an example of somebody in Europe sending technology or...
Yeah, I can give one for sure.
Yeah.
There's Hemp Block. Hemp Block is designed and built. It's like a tongue and groove brick that's made out of hemp, and it's manufactured in Europe and being sold into the United States to build homes. And that technology is patented and has been for a long time in Europe. And so understanding that we don't have the structural build or opportunity to build structurally with hemp or hempcrete, that this is an opportunity or a technology and process that creates that structural build. And so they're more than eager to share and obviously develop, or I don't know if they're franchising or selling license. I'm not sure what their process is or their model is, but they're definitely moving into the United States and Australia.
So they're setting up and working with partners here in the U.S. to manufacture within the United States their patented process to create these hemp blocks?
Yep.
Fantastic.
Yep, absolutely. And that's happening. Canada is a huge support. There's a number of technologies. China, of course, has a ton of technology. There's lots of technology from Europe that comes over for decortication. Decortication is when they're processing the fiber or separating the fiber from the woody core.
And you have to have all that equipment. And if it doesn't exist here, we have to find it somewhere, right?
Yes. Yeah, there have been a few companies, that are within the United States who have done a good job at engineering, different equipment. But there are definitely, like you said earlier, a number of countries that have had an opportunity to study this for years and years. And so they're much more advanced than we are.
And why, in your opinion, was such a wonderful, beautiful product ever banned in the United States?
I don't know if people want to call it greed, but definitely it definitely competes with all of our major industries, all of our major, plastics and our agriculture and some of these major steel and paper, and so I think that as people recognize and business happens, that it's what we're seeing, I guess.
I mean, I don't know if, I've heard several different, stories, and I don't really honestly know which of those are true and accurate, but I mean, do you know that part of our country's history?
Absolutely.
Can you share a little bit about exactly how and when it was banned? Who was behind it all?
Okay, so hemp originated over 10,000 years ago. Historically, it was made into and cultivated into food, fuel, fiber, medicine. It was treated, sickness for people and in animals. Hemp fed and heated homes. I think that that's one thing that we forget about too, is definitely the fuel source that's coming from hemp. The ships that traveled across the world, were taken and sailed from Africa. When it went over into Africa, it was used for medical purposes, obviously.
And in the U.S. itself, who was it that decided it should be banned? I mean, do we know that little tidbit of info?
Well, it was the Marijuana Tax Act of 1937, and the Marijuana Tax Act actually confused marijuana, it became a criminal to grow, and then hemp became unaffordable. Right? It was taxed so much.
I see.
It was the Narcotics Act, that really made it illegal.
Okay, and when was
The
that?
Boggs Act of 1951. So the Marijuana Tax Act of 1937, and then the Boggs Act of 1951, and the Narcotics Control Act targeting marijuana.
Yeah.
But anyways.
And that's when it became illegal as opposed to just expensive, cost prohibitive. This is Heartstock, and we're going to take our little midway point break here in just a moment. We will be right back with Mandi Kerr of Global Hemp Association. This is Heartstock Radio. I'm your host, Carol Murphy, and today we are speaking with Mandi Kerr of Global Hemp Association, and we were just talking about how other parts of the world have been growing and advancing the uses of hemp in many ways. We're a little behind here in the United States since it's been illegal for quite some time, but we're waking up, right, Mandi?
Yes, definitely. Well, and other countries are looking at us for our entrepreneurial, opportunities. And so we're definitely catching up.
And how so? Can you talk more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And our opportunity to innovate in the United States and our access to, technology and resources definitely provides opportunity around innovation and education to, validate some of the claims or what is said to be known, quote unquote, about the hemp plant. And because we have so many resources, we're just moving right along.
What's the most innovative, organization or enterprise that you've come across so far?
Ooh, I definitely am impressed with the companies that are creating batteries. The hemp wood is pretty impressive. That's very exciting. Hempatexture with hemp wool, that's very exciting. Or hemp wool insulation. Bruce Dietzen, shout out to him. He's built a hemp car. There's a number of people that have built hemp batteries. Ahmed's doing hemp biofuels.
How is hemp used to create a battery? This is fascinating.
I don't know the science of it. Well, I've read about them. I've read about them and, their comparisons to, say, a lithium battery or some of the science behind, the numbers, but how they're doing it, I don't know.
Well, that certainly adds some interest here. We'll have to get somebody on that's making hemp batteries. Maybe you can refer us to someone. That's exciting.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So how has COVID affected your enterprise? I would imagine it's helped you. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. It's opened so many opportunities, and it's opened up opportunities and a focus on supply chain. And we have an opportunity to, instead of have to fix an old supply chain, right, we get to create a new one. And hemp provides opportunities to fix so many pieces of our broken supply chain. And so, yes, I think it opened doors. And I guess I look at this, all of this as a challenge, but it was definitely opportunity and where innovation has been born.
And how have you been funded? Are you bootstrapping this?
Yep. We're a membership-based organization and through grants now and our members.
Would you like to mention at all who organizations, nonprofits, who has been helping fund you?
So our members, we've got a whole list of them. From attorneys, I can say names like Hoban Law is a great one. Oh man, I have.
Well, how large is your membership right now? And where did it
we're
start out? I
we're
imagine it's grown a lot.
Yeah, so we actually just started. We're only a year old officially as of last month, and we just started growing our memberships or selling memberships about 6 months ago, and we're about at 125 members now. I've got a great advisory board, Josh Newsombaum with Ceph Technology, Bobby Ziner with Canadian Industrial Hemp Corporation, Ahmed, he's an expert in biofuels, has a PhD in engineering. Bruce Dietzen he's built two now sports cars out of hemp. Ralph is the CEO and executive of Integrated Compliance Solutions. These are my advisors, or some of my advisors. Jason Jackson with Meebach, or Greg Gerdeman with NashX. All excellent people to know within the industry who have helped to support the association and support other members. And there's like 6 or 7 others on top of. We're getting about 500 to 600 attendees each month to our meetings. So we're just kind of in the startup phase, taking off, but definitely making an impact within the industry.
And what do you have planned for the future? What lays ahead for us?
Yeah, so lots. We've got lots of projects that we've been working on, from a biofuels pilot program, a project in Africa, the X Prize competition, which is an Elon Musk organization that is focused on drawing down carbon from the atmosphere. And so we've got a group that is putting together an entire project to prove that carbon is, or that hemp is, a big player in that, both for avoidance and sequestration. We've got a big co-op organization that's going together, but definitely building out the supply chain really creates an opportunity for us to innovate and then develop, they say upwards of 20 to 50,000 new products. So jobs and opportunity.
And how about the farming aspect of it?
Mm-hmm.
Is there any place in the country, any state in particular, that's just knocking it out of the park?
Montana.
Oh, really? That's exciting.
Yeah. They're crushing it. IND Hemp and the Hemp Feed Coalition are really doing a fabulous job. The fiber production up in Montana, the government up there, you guys have done an amazing job. Being close to the Canadian border has been really awesome. I've had a couple of groups that are really interested in developing, processing facilities into paper or some of these other big markets right in Montana, because they're knocking it out of the park. So yeah, I'm really impressed.
And I know this is kind of a technical question, but why is hemp so much better than, say, cotton? What is it that's special about hemp and the way that it grows that's so exciting?
Cotton uses something like 40% of the world's pesticides, and hemp can use barely any. Much less amount. In addition, they've got, the water consumption, and then the tensile strength and the time at which it grows. So yeah, it's got a number when we compare to cotton itself. I think that when we look at the big picture of agriculture, we have to look at the root structure and the carbon sequestration and what it does for rotation crop. Thomas Jefferson once said that the best thing we can do for our nation is to introduce a new rotation, or a new crop to the rotation. And so this is definitely the last, or we would already have one. This is the last crop we have, and it's the last opportunity we have to make a big difference.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know, numbers wise, how much more hemp are we growing in Montana than, say, Utah?
I don't know Utah's numbers for acreage this year. Mm-hmm. I know licensees have dropped significantly, and I'm not positive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And any advice? We've got, about 2 minutes left here. Any advice for those working in this space? And the very last question will be how folks might reach you.
Awesome. people working in the space, I'd love to connect with them, get to know other people, find yourself a platform or a group. There's so many great organizations out there. I mentioned IND Hemp, Midwest Hemp Council, iHemp Michigan. There's some great groups all across the nation. Florida, Texas Hemp Growers Association, U.S. Hemp Growers Association. And you are always welcome to find as much information, on the website at globalhempassociation.org. There's lots of resources on the YouTube channel as well. So, yeah.
How about overseas? Yeah. Are there other
Absolutely.
organizations you'd like to give a shout out to or direct people to?
Yeah, absolutely. The European Hemp Association is doing a fabulous job. And then the Alberta, up in Canada, Alberta Hemp Association is, of course, killing it. So yeah, there's lots of, really almost everywhere. I think that there's another association that is gathering resources to the number of global or a number of entities across the globe. And that number just continues to grow every day. So get involved and reach out to as many people as you can to build your network, because it's definitely not, hemp is coming at full force.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's very frustrating here in the US that, everything, even if you are making something here, to find the stuff to make your product, it all has to come from overseas. So this is very heartwarming to know that sounds like we're on the right path.
Absolutely. Yes. There's thousands, hundreds and thousands of people out there that should be involved and will be, because it's going to be in everything we can see for the most part. I don't want to say everything, but I don't want to be an over-promiser, but it is definitely an impact.
And every time I use something plastic, it's like there has got to be a replacement for this stuff. We have got to get rid of all this plastic.
It's going to take a lot of innovation and a lot of money. We've got to get a lot of capital into the industry.
Any other way that you would like to share that people might be able to find you, Mandi, and carry on the conversation?
Oh, absolutely. So on our website, you're welcome to participate in any of the meetings that we have. If you go to the events tab, there's a drop-down link to, 8 or 9 meetings per month that you can get involved with all different topics, from farming and agriculture to biofuels, plastics, and everything in between. And so, yeah, I would love to have you.
Thank you so much for sharing what you're doing there, Mandi, and for being our guest here on Heartstock.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
This is Heartstock Radio. I'm your host, Carol Murphy, and as usual, we shall be back next week. Peace.
Heartstock Radio is a production of KBMF 102.5 Butte America Radio. Hear our programs every Friday at 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time via livestream at butteamericaradio.org.
As I went walking, I saw a sign there, and on the sign it said, "No trespassing." But on the other side